Welcome to Next to Madison, a podcast to help you live your best life.
Welcome back to another episode of Next to Madison. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Madison Malloy. And on today's episode, we are talking about the power of mindset. I'm actually sitting down with one of my dear friends who I've known through the comedy and entertainment world, and he just has a very positive mindset and a mindset about not giving up and the power of perseverance. And we talk a lot about the power of perception and the power of the present moment and how to stay in that present moment, and also detachment, the power of preparation, all the things that you kind of need for life. Even if you're not in entertainment, this is a great episode of just seeing life for what it is and seeing the joys, but being able to embrace the challenges because we grow in the challenges, and not being afraid of rejection and not putting a time clock on your life. You have to do this by this age or this by this age. You don't have to do anything by a certain age. You are on your own path, your own life. You can start over at any time. You can take off at any time. Don't stop the comparison. Do the best you can, live a happy life, have positive perception, detach from outcomes, and watch the magic happen. So this is a very fun conversation with actor and comedian Ron Barba. So we'll be right back after this brief message on Next to Madison with our guest.
It's your host, Madison Malloy, and I have exciting news. My new product is now available on Amazon called Color Your Way to Abundance, a 21-day manifestation guide for wealth, health, and love. This unique coloring journal will help you manifest by coloring in the affirmations while you continue to repeat them. This will help activate these affirmations so they become a reality. Grab your copy today and relax, color, and start manifesting.
We are back on this super fun episode. I've got one of my favorite people. He's a dear friend of mine. And if you follow me on social media, you have seen him pop up on the social feeds. But he is extremely talented. And we've got the amazing comedian and amazing actor, Ron Barba, to the show. He finally made Next to Madison. How you doing?
I didn't know. I'm doing great. I didn't know what it was going to take to find. I was like, one day I'm going to be on this show, and today is that day. So
Today,
I couldn't be happier.
yeah, well, I'm so excited for you. You know, you're one of the most optimistic people I know. And, the this industry, the entertainment industry, is a very tough place. There's a lot of negativity, there's a lot of rejection, but you seem to be have that mindset to where everything's good. So talk to us about like how you kind of stay above the darkness.
Yes, that's a great, great question. And I'm often told how positive I am, and that I'm always bringing light to every kind of room and everywhere I go. And it's
Yes.
funny because you think like it is, even though I am naturally that way, a lot of the time, there's a lot of there's some of the time where I have to work at it. So it's never the most natural thing, because sometimes you see people that are so giddy and fun and all that, and then later on they do something terrible. You're like, what
Hmm.
happened? So it's just something. So I feel like I do have a natural disposition to be excited about life. And then the other, I'm going to say 20% of the time, I need to really work on it and work on my attitude, and just really, it's like a continual practice to stay positive no matter what, almost like putting all things in the past behind. And so it's taken a lot actually work to get that way. But once the natural happiness, it's easy to get over the rejection, like you said, and
Yeah.
this person did well because of this, and they did well, and you're like, why am I not getting these things? And so I think that number one, you get used to that, which is not a good thing, and you get used to rejection so much. But and at the same time, it gives you a natural ability to just see that it's just a part of life. And so then when you get over that, when you really are getting over that, things come a lot easier in life to you.
Yeah. And do you feel, I mean, this is what I feel. I feel that when you get older, your body starts to fall apart a little bit and there's a little
Oh,
more upkeep, but your wisdom and your mind is so much stronger that it's like, you know what? I'll take like saggy balls and some crow's feet to have more of wisdom. Would you agree?
I would totally agree, especially about the crow's feet. No,
Yeah.
no, I'm kidding. I have no idea. Like I didn't know we were going there. With That's great. You can say Saggy Balls. I'm next to Madison. I didn't know you could do that. But yes, and just about one of the best things about aging is that you've seen it all, done it all. So every situation that hits you, you've already been there to a degree. It'd be rare for you not to see it, and in that way, you're prepared, and you're not going to overreact. You're not going to get overly emotional, and you're just going to go. You're going to
Yes.
roll with the punches. It's a lot. It's weird, like you say, but life gets easier as you get older. But the body, unfortunately, I hurt my foot a few months ago. Just cracked it out, and it was just from playing a regular game of tennis, and it's just because of age mostly. It finally was the time. But as far as the physical part of it is difficult, but my God, the emotional part of it and the intellectual and the wisdom
Ah,
makes it's much greater than when you were younger and went through all kinds of pain that could go on for years. That pain
oh my
when
gosh. Well,
you're younger.
yeah, and you and I have known each other for a long time. And you knew me when I was in my early 30s, when I was going through a lot of my pain, a lot of self-induced pain
Correct.
from just having the wrong mindset to obsessing over the wrong people, the wrong
Right.
things, not being able to compartmentalize. And you've really watched me kind of transition,
Yeah.
out of that and grow and
Yes.
retrain kind of my whole mindset. But yeah,
Yes, you
it's
have.
just, it's one of those things like I look back when we had that little online show together and,
Yes.
we were on top of the world. We just gave up too
Yeah.
soon.
I know. I
But
know.
how happy you were. I mean, you seemed happy, but how sad I was underneath
You
everything,
had that. I
you
mean,
know, at
I
the time.
noticed. I noticed that. I definitely noticed that you had your moments there, and it was very difficult. And again, as an older person, older than you and others, sometimes you see the people are they're complaining to you, or a few times crying to me, which is totally normal in life. But
Yeah.
you're like, this person just doesn't. They just haven't got. I've already been to where they are with the pain of whatever was a relationship or career, and I was just like, she just doesn't know yet, and the people just don't know yet.
Yeah.
That they're going to be okay, and that. But like you said, there's a way that you had to find, probably through your experience and wisdom or whatever you had to go through. But certainly, you came out of a lot there, and I'm probably probably most people your age in your 30s went through that kind of stuff and went through that kind of pain. So it's almost like so natural at that age to be that way, and then to as you get older, to the next way, the next wisdom. So.
Yeah.
There was
Yeah.
a time. There was a time though when you look back, you go, "My God, why did I react that way? Why did I act this way? I didn't have to act that way or be this way." But you just
Right.
didn't know at your time. You just didn't know.
Are
You know?
you a believer? I'm a big believer in you're where you're supposed to be. As much as you say, well, I wish I would have done that, or I wish I would have given this person a chance, or taken this route, or taken that job. I think that some people think, my dad's one of those, that we have less control than we actually think we do.
Totally believe it. Was
Yeah, and
that?
a lot of it's kind of predestined. And to just go pretend life is like being on a kayak going down a river, right? The more you try to go back and resist things, the harder it becomes. But if you just
Yes.
kind of go with the flow and you
Yes.
realize, okay, life's happening for me, it's not happening to me, and
Mhm.
you've heard me talk and we've talked about the
Oh
law
yeah.
of detachment. How do you apply the law of detachment to your life being in the entertainment industry where one role could change your entire trajectory, but you can't attach yourself to it because you push it away?
That's. Well, wait. So you push. You can't attach yourself, or else you push that to happen
Right. So
away.
if let's say
Yeah.
you get a casting call and
Yeah.
you're like, gosh, if I get this role, my life's going to change.
Right.
And you prepare and you do everything and you go in and you do the best job you can, but you're so obsessed. You're like, if I don't get this, I'm doomed.
Yeah.
If I
Yeah.
don't get, so you're so attached to it
Yeah.
that you actually end up pushing it away to where what you need to do is prepare, give it 100%, do the best you can, and
Right.
let it go. And if it's meant to
Let
be,
it go.
it will be with you. And maybe you don't do that. Maybe that's something that I can work with you on, but
Yeah.
you
Well, I
know,
I think I think all that. is 100% what you need to do. The first thing you have to do with everything in life is preparation. If you don't do the preparation, like when you would do stand up or when I would do stand up or acting on stage or in film, if
Yeah.
you don't do the work before and then you go, you're nervous or whatever, then you really didn't do, to me, you didn't do the work before. Because once you do all the work before, it should come
I
out just naturally, right?
Yeah, I think that there's some healthy nerve that
Yeah,
should be there,
that's
but when
good.
you're
Yeah,
really nervous because you didn't prepare properly, well,
that's
that
that
shit's
that
on you.
that's on you, and that's a big one too. And a lot of people don't know,
Yeah,
that's a big problem. It's preparation is like so much of everything you do. And so if you're somehow nervous about something, well, then you did something. You're nervous about something you did on the early side. But I know that's not what the question was. Then the next thing was, and I did a couple pilots where I filmed that I was trying to pitch, and one of the people that I was involved with got real ugly with me, and they were withholding information, stuff that I needed that was going to help push the project along. And I was so intertwined with them that the only way I could really survive the next day without getting angry is to be able, and this is a big one, is walk away, is to be able to walk away. And I said, you have to be able to walk away from everything in
oh my
this
God, I
world.
love that.
You have to set your mind and be like, I can walk away from anything. And when you set your mind into that, then no matter the worst thing can happen, you just look at the person or whatever the deal and say, sorry, I'm done. Like, it's okay. You take it and I'm going this way. If you can do that, and that takes a lot to do that, especially when you put all the
Yeah.
time in. You can fight as much as you want, but sometimes you fight and there's nothing there. You're not going to get it that way. The best thing is to what you said before. It's like releasing. You said to let it go,
The
and the same thing was to
attachment.
say, yeah, the attachment is to let it go and just be happy with yourself. And then when you start thinking about being happy with yourself in your life or other things in your life that aren't associated with that, you'd be amazed at what an amazing life it is out there that has nothing to do with anything you were working on. But you need to
Yes.
find your happiness in other things or yourself, and not this person or these people or even this industry that you're in as well. I see
Yeah.
people go nuts. These people that have died, these successful people that have died and over drugs and everything in the business, and they had all this success. And I was like, it wasn't even worth it. You don't even understand this whole drive you had for your goals of achieving were not worth it because you killed yourself with drugs and drinking or whatever it was.
Yeah.
You messed up. You messed it all up. You didn't see what life was really about. It's so much bigger than
Right.
the one thing that you want.
Yeah, no, that's very well said. So let's talk about some of your roles because I think, first of all, to kind of button up the mindset part of it, right? So you've always heard that thing where the future's anxiety, the past is depression, and the present is peace. Now, one of the top skill I think that an entertainer can have is the ability to be in the present moment, which is something that you have and most
Yes,
successful actors have
yes, and
because
you do
they
too.
have to come out of their body and
Yes.
come into that moment and live in that moment. So how do you do that? Is that just something you feel like you were born with or
Mm,
kind
good
of
question.
what's that
Yeah, I think
mindset?
I think especially with acting because I did more acting than I've done stand up. But once I was doing stand up a lot, and you've done a lot of stand up, so when you get that familiarity and that belief that you are supposed to be doing this, this is what you are, this is what you wanted. You
Yeah.
are you are this. You this is what you do. Other people do whatever they do in the world. This is what you do. This is what you wanted to do. So
Yeah.
you dive into that and you put everything into that and you believe that you are that character, and you don't even think about anything else but being in that character and that you were meant to do that. And there's nothing that can stop you when it comes to that with acting. I really believe that. No one can tell you anything, throw you off. If you've done the work and you believe that's what you are, that's what you should be doing, then you're, it's unstoppable in my mind.
Yeah. So when you become a character, what do you do to prepare? Because
Mm,
you're not Ron Barba anymore. You're
yes,
stepping
that's
into
right.
a different
Yes.
mindset, a different persona.
Well, the first thing, with acting, you know, even though it seemed people look at you like, oh, I could do that. A lot of people say that, and
Yeah.
some can, but most in my mind cannot because I've kind of a trained eye for people that are really good and people that are
Yeah.
just mediocre, and that's most people are mediocre. And I think it's number one. I think a lot with acting is you either are it or you're not it, And if you or you have it, I should say, you have that thing. But then the next part, of course, is the work, and then the work requires unbelievable study of the text. That means your character, their character, but learning your lines up and down, so that I always say that you learn your lines so much that they go back into your subconscious, they go deep into you, that you, and that means I go over my lines from beginning to end of the day. I obsess over them. Even after
Yeah.
even I have them, I'll be saying them anywhere just to be doing them over and over. So eventually, when you get out and you just have whatever the scene is or the person is in front of you, you're not thinking of anything because it's so deep in you. You can That's when you can quote unquote act. Like they don't want to act, but that's when you're free to act when you have the lines down. And most people are not good at memorizing their lines. And I don't know why, whether it's because it's a talent or a gift to learn a lot of lines, or they're too lazy and they didn't put the time and effort in and they forget
Right.
maybe because they're nervous or whatever. But a lot of it has to do with just learning your lines. That's like a very famous line that, sorry about New York right now, but Spencer Tracy said to Gregory Peck, learn your lines. I think it was the first thing, just learn your lines. Most people can't even do that. It's simple.
Yeah. Well, now on the set they have the ear things in there, right? Where they're feeding
Right.
them the lines,
Yeah.
which is just crazy. They
Marlon
they always
Brando.
say that the hardest thing about acting is auditioning. Once you get the role, it's
Yeah.
very easy. So let's talk about some of your roles. What you've done a lot of movies that are on Amazon, a lot of independent features, a lot of
Yep.
off-Broadway shows. What
Right.
was one role that really had an impact on you and felt that it kind of changed you?
One of my favorite roles I ever did was on this is it was a family role that was written by a guy in New Jersey. It was an off-Broadway play, not far from here. And I got to play this dad that was unbelievably angry and had just had huge anger spurts. And growing up, my father was a very angry person, had these unbelievable anger spurts. So every time I was reading the script, I'm like, oh my God, that's like what it was like for me growing up.
Yeah.
So I got to play this role, and it was just it was very close to home, from growing up that way. And so I was so excited to play that, but basically play my father's anger, which a lot of
Yeah.
people have this kind of anger, and you'll see it in a lot of plays as well. But I got to play this one, so that was my favorite one. Was playing a dad that just loses it half the time, and he just really loses it. That's the way my dad used to be. He used to really lose it. Like you would just see someone, and it didn't seem like someone you
Yeah.
knew. They were that nuts. And I got to do that on stage. That was a high for me to be able to do something like that. It's kind of crazy, but that was something that was just one thing that I really love to do. A lot of times I play cops. I'm playing a cop in a film that I'm going to be shooting soon. I'm playing like the lead detective. So a lot of times I get those roles and people say you look like a cop or you act like one. So I actually enjoy those roles as well. I mean, that's very different, obviously.
Yeah.
I play therapists, business people a lot of times.
So if you had
Oh,
your dream role, what would it be?
well, I mean, I love this one that I'm doing now is kind of a detective cop in a horror film. I think I like detectives, but I also I like playing business people. Gordon Gekko was my favorite.
Yes.
Michael Douglas playing Gordon Gekko, but you're never going to get writing like that again. That was
Yeah.
Oliver Stone wrote that. It's just perfect. So, any role that where the writing is so good, it almost doesn't matter. People tell me, Ron, can you play this? Or I'm like, I'll play anyone you want. I just want good writing. Writing
Yeah.
is really hard to find. I say actors,
Yeah.
comedians, in my mind, are a dime a dozen. But good
Right.
writers, and it's not because the actors and comedians are any easier. It's just that writing something interesting, unique is that hard, I feel.
Yeah. No, no, it definitely is. And really getting the tone and having the flow because you want it to be realistic, you know?
That's
And like I'm in that, right? I worked on my first fictional book piece, and that
yes.
that was a totally different animal, because it's like you had to step in as a writer. It's almost like an acting. You had to step into these characters.
Mm,
And they were, even though these two women are best friends, they were still their own individual people. And switching between them, and they're not going to talk the same. They're not going to think the same. They're not going to act the same. They have different
right.
backgrounds. So how these two come together in a natural thing, yeah, it's tough,
Yes, it
but
is tough.
but it's worth it. So, and good writing is great. So why do you feel like you had a background in Wall Street, and why do you
Mhm.
feel that you felt the need to step away from that and really follow this passion?
I
Because it
think,
takes balls. I did the same damn
yeah.
thing,
I mean, I remember I was working at Bear Stearns in 1999. I was working on a trading desk, and I always like trading because my father's a trader, and I always like it because it's also, just trying to guess where the market's going and
Yeah,
speculate on the future is a fun thing to do, and talking with clients. But this last job with this guy, he was a total nut job, and I just couldn't deal with him. And sometimes he was right sometimes with some of the stuff he was saying about me, and I don't know what it was, but I guess I just didn't do at that point in '99. I was just done after he fired me. I was like, I can't stand this Wall Street anymore in this city. I'm done with it. I was only here for 4 or 5 years, but even that alone, I was like, I got to try something else. So I came over here to the West Side where I live now, and I worked as a manager in a bar, which I'd never done in a Broadway bar,
yeah,
and that was the first time I just needed to get. You need to make money because you know how expensive New York City is. But
yeah,
once I started working there, then I was trying to figure out how can I get the courage to go up on stage. And then the first time I went up on stage, my brother wrote a song about Bob Ross called "Why I Don't Paint People." So I went up on stage as Bob Ross because I had performed before, but it was a long time ago. So I got up as Bob Ross and sang this song, and the people loved it. I kept, and from there I started to do acting, and then I just got more confidence as time went on in New York. And so then that's why I just, fell in love with it in stand up. And then I met you many years later as stand up, and you
yeah,
meet all the people that do stand up comedy and how interesting that is. But it took, it was like after about 4 or 5 years here in New York, and I still went back to because I couldn't make a living doing art, so I would still go back
yeah,
and go and do Wall Street jobs, but it wasn't trading desk. It's called back office, so it's like more accounting stuff,
yep,
which is a lot easier because there was no pressure. It wasn't like the Wall Street pressure; it was very different pressure. Where
yeah.
I can go home and then do acting at night or do stand up at night. So it just, I just, it filled two needs for me, which is you got to make money, number one, to survive here. But number two is the performance. I just love performing and then making films and doing all kinds of pilots and just falling in love with wanting to be, the people that I grew up wanting to be on in movies and TV.
Yeah.
And that's
So
really what it is.
so how important is to you and when you're speaking to an audience that's out there listening, the importance of persistence and never giving up?
Yeah, I mean, that's everything because so many people I know and probably have quit and you understand why because it's just so difficult to make a living and it's just so
Of
painful
course. It
and
is.
so that's what they always say. You never. There's a quote from Winston Churchill, I think, in the war, where he just said, "Never, never, 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 never." He said it many more times, and he goes, "Give up." And so that was a speech he gave to everybody, and it's just, that is one of the hardest things to do, obviously.
Right. But I also think too is like when I tell people, I'm like, there's one thing of like not never giving up, but there's also the ability to have an open mind to where you can transition into
Transition
something.
to what? You mean getting out of the business?
No, transition into something that might be a better fit for you.
Oh yeah,
Like when I started, I was a
absolutely.
comedian. I was
That's
wanted to
right.
be an actor, and then
That's right.
I would transition. I was like, I'm actually a better writer and creator. I enjoy this side more.
Right.
This gives me
Right.
more confidence, more freedom as I healed my own, mental health stuff. Being
Yes.
able to help people along that angle. But the entertainment world opened this up, allowed me to
Mhm.
feel these feelings, allowed me to experience this, allowed me to get to know myself better, to be able to come to this path where I can be more of a value and a service to people.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think it's good to like never give up, but also be open that the opportunity might,
Yes.
the one that makes and breaks you, the one that opens everything up to your dream life might
Mm.
not be exactly what you think on day one. So
Very
it's
good.
important to also stay open and
Yes.
and and embrace
Yes.
opportunities and take opportunities. Nothing is permanent. If you
Love
want
that.
something, you do something and it doesn't work out, well, then you pick back something back up. And, we have a lot of societal pressures. You don't have as much because you're a man. Women have obviously have a lot more, but I think as we have an older generation, you have all the baby boomers, that there is a huge demand for relatable older actors. And so to me, I think you're absolutely in the prime.
Oh wow,
You're
that's
you're
that's great
you're
to
in
hear.
the yeah, because at least for me, I'm 42 years old. I don't want to watch a bunch of young hunks like on a screen. I almost would feel like a pedophile. You know what I mean? Like I want to watch more things I can relate to and real families and real life. And that's what those, actors of an older age give you. They give
Yes.
you more of that experience and that more relatability.
Yes. Yes. Well, yeah, I mean, especially when I would watch stand-ups and there are all these young stand-ups, and I think it's great that people are doing stand-up. How old were you when you first did stand-up? Okay,
26.
and I was 35 when I first did it. And so as I've gotten older, like I barely can listen to young stand-ups only because I like to listen to them. I'm like, oh, they're just learning, they're learning and finding. But I would,
Yeah.
like you said, I would much rather listen to older people because of just the experience they have and
And
the
the
stuff they said is
confidence.
richer. Yeah, the certain confidence, but just richer stuff that they're talking about too,
Well, I
and it's
gotta
deeper
tell
stuff.
you, as trying to go more towards the speaking route, but I still do the comedy and I'm having more fun with it. And what I do love is I remember freaking out for my 30th birthday. I'm old, I'm never gonna make it. I'm washed up and blah blah blah. Little did I know, right? That
Yeah,
like actually your 40s would end up being the best years.
absolutely.
And but what that whole thing of is like just this self-induced pressure that we put on ourselves. And the fact that I can now talk about aging and getting older and having
Yeah,
fucked up hormones and having to
yeah.
do hormone replacement therapy and my knees sagging and things that happen on your face and the testosterone making your clitoris bigger and there's a lot of different things, but that's the stuff that people relate to you know? And
Worry less. Worry
you
less about what
worry
people
because
think.
I don't give a shit. You know what? I feel great.
It's
And
important.
I just got back from getting my testosterone pellets put in me because that's the hormone that I needed. And I'm not transitioning or anything. And, I was about 2.5 months overdue. And the doctor came in and she said, I'm surprised I haven't seen you. I said, well, I've been trapped in New York working so much. And she goes, well, how do you feel? And I said, I got to be honest with you. I'm really putting on a good face, but I feel like shit. And I said, I went to this event and I said, I'm very open and candid with my friends to where I'm like, my hormones are a little off if I come off a little crass and a little bitchy and not so social. It's my hormones, it's not me. And so they laugh. But I remember being at Polo and somebody said, do you want to meet these people? And I said, no, I don't want to have small talk with a bunch of fucking people that I don't know and I'm probably never going to see again. I'm like, why? Why? I'd rather hang out with my friends. I don't want to meet your other stupid friends. I don't care. I'm probably never going to see him again. I was like, leave me the F alone. Let me just hang out with my friends, and you know me, like that's not totally me. And so
That's not you. Yeah.
I was telling the doctor and I said, I'm very discerning about people, but I'm like, I don't even like people. Like, bring me all the dogs, bring me the horses, get the people out of here. Get out. I was turning into a New Yorker. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. So, but I knew that it was my hormones. And so I would laugh with
Interesting.
my friends and I was like, sorry guys, I'm on the bitchy hormone thing, got to get those pumped up because I had the lack of focus and shit of that sort. But yeah, so the bitchiness hopefully will phew, kind
There we
of
go.
it'll calm down. Yeah, she said I should start feeling better by tomorrow. But I said, you know what? But it's amazing how your mind, when you're aware, and I think being in entertainment, and you probably know this too, you gain more self-awareness because you have to. And so for me, it's like I know myself so well that I know when I'm being a certain way or I'm in a certain mood, I know, is it me or is it the hormones?
Mm,
Or is it that time of month, or is it something else going on? So I'm able to actually be like, hey, I'm not feeling the best right now. Probably not a good time for me to meet new people.
right.
Maybe I shouldn't go out. Maybe I should just chill. Maybe I should just, and I had just gone over, so I just didn't feel well. But I think that's the fun part of getting older is that you are so honest. And you're like,
Yes.
no, I don't want to meet your fucking friends. I just don't. Like
Yeah.
maybe I will one day, but like right now, it's like I'm trying to get rid of the friends I already have. It's like
Right.
you have too many. You want to have quality. You want to have quality,
Yes.
not
Quality.
quantity.
Exactly.
And so it's like, but I love meeting new people and I love people and I love helping people and embracing people. But sometimes you want to just be left alone. But I think that's
Yes.
that's the whole thing of being an artist is we take on so
Mhm.
much energy and we're also empaths to people's emotions that
Yes.
we get drained and we need to step and be alone. All artists do and creatives do to
Yes.
recharge
Totally.
because we're taking on so much energy from other people.
Yeah. And and managing, that's what you're saying. It's like managing your time with people. And you
Yeah.
because of your life and because of my life, we're in the communication business. We have to communicate a lot with a lot of different people, and we have to meet a lot of different people. And
Oh, of course.
sometimes that can really wear on you. And also, a lot of people want to meet with you because they want something from you. They want to do something,
Yeah.
and which is great too, because that's the whole managing of the lifestyle. You realize, like, oh my God, I have to see this many more people. I have to go out to these meet, go wherever you have to go, and then
Yeah.
you got to put on the face and you got to talk, and like you said, woman, man, differently is different, but you have to put it on because you're a show person. That's what you do, and like you said, as you get older, you get way better at managing, is putting up barriers. And that's important to put up barriers, or else people will
Yeah.
just suck the life out of you. They're trying to.
Yes.
I don't know if they're even deliberately trying to, really. It's just that there's a lot of people coming at you for whatever it is. And if you don't put those barriers up, they will just, it's toxic.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, it's very true. Because it's like, I don't want people to listen to this and be like, oh my gosh, she doesn't even like people. No, I love
no,
people. But
yeah,
sometimes you need a break. And
you
it's
need a
like
break.
but at least it's like being able to step into that self-awareness or being in entertainment, being a public
Yes.
figure, being an empath, and also being so self-aware and aware of my emotions. And I'm like, hey, listen, like I'm a proactive person about my health. I took a proactive measure towards my hormones. I didn't wait until perimenopause or menopause to where
Sure.
everything fell apart. I was proactive about it. And I did a healthier option versus going and getting Ritalin for ADD because that's what I felt I had because the
Oh,
lack of
wow.
focus.
Oh, I
But
see.
it definitely does affect you. Um, but that's what's great about the art is just for me, it's like the self-awareness and to where I have
Self-awareness.
such great friends to where I can be like, hey guys, hormones are a little off, feeling a little bitchy, don't really need to meet new friends, let's just hang out. And they laugh because they're like, it's so funny.
Right.
And I
So
said, I'll
knowing your,
I'll be
yeah.
back soon. I'll meet you fucking friends July 4th. Let me
And
have
you
my
will.
hormones.
Right, right. You will.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you said, but the self-awareness is, that's very, I wasn't really, I forgot that was the word that you really asking the question about, which is being self-aware. And, and being a comedian is, also like knowing the room, being aware, you're self-aware, like of the stuff you want to talk about. But sometimes people aren't into that. And like, oh, I'm not going to, whatever it is, I'm not going with this energy, this vibe with this group. I got to switch it up. So, and that's a stand-up thing, but that's the
Yeah.
same thing about self-awareness for yourself is knowing yourself and when you
Oh,
should be
yeah.
overextending yourself because you may look bad in front of people. You might not be able to
Yeah.
give you the best you in that moment, So
Well,
it's important that you manage that.
oh, exactly. Because you hear all this stuff about these famous people and they're like, oh my God, I met this person. They were such a dick. They were such a bitch. And it's like, hold on a second. Did you ever think that maybe they had a million things going on? They could have health issues going on. And you took that one selfish, narcissistic moment that you made all about you and then all of a sudden pinpointed them as an asshole.
Yeah.
I think we as society need to do a better job of understanding that life ain't about us. And
Right.
somebody being rude to you usually has nothing to do with you. There's a zillion things going on. So stop personalizing it. We're not a
Very
bunch of
true.
narcissists. Not everything's about you. And that's what I
That's
always said
right.
about comedy when people's like, I'm offended. You're offended by a joke that wasn't even written with you in mind. Like, are you that big of a narcissist that you just made this all about you? Let's
That's
think
great.
about this for a second, right? So that's why I said, if you're offended, get the F out of my face. Get out of my show, get out of my face, get out of the comedy clubs because you're a narcissist and narcissists have no place in my life
A lot of
ever.
narcissists. A lot of
But
narcissists.
there are to where you can take a situation and make it all about you.
I know.
is
No, there.
insane.
I agree.
But that's what happened to comedy. But now I feel people are fighting back to where they're like, do you remember? I mean, I go in the middle and I don't really talk about politics, but I
Yeah.
remember being so scared because I didn't really feel I agreed with everything on the entertainment side and
Right.
feeling silenced and feeling that my voice was small and feeling that I couldn't authentically be myself.
Right.
To where now it's like, no, there's a platform for everybody. I
Yep.
can be who I am. I authentically own it. If you don't want to work with me because of that, then I just dodged a bullet that could have cost me millions of
Yes.
dollars down the road.
Right. Right.
So it's
Right.
stepping into that authenticity. Okay, I want to talk about before we wrap
Okay.
up. You
Okay.
were on a dating show and
Oh
you
yeah.
won the dating show,
Oh yeah.
but you're not married. Tell us about being on a reality show and how fake it all
Well,
is.
it's so great. It was so great. I actually I had some friends in from Los Angeles, and I showed them this because a lot of people say that's the most fun they watch of all the stuff I've done. And
Oh, it
I mean,
was
I
so
really
fun.
right, and I really wasn't, playing a character. I kind of was, but it was five. It was called Five Guys a Week, and it was on Lifetime, and they had 10 episodes of it. I was in only one episode, but in my episode, I told them, I said, "Listen, I want to have children because I don't have children, never been married." And I was like, "This is," I'm like, "Why not go try it?" I've been a failure out in real life being married. Let me try it on TV. And they love me, they love me to be on the show. And it took a lot for me to get on the show. But one of the things I told them was, I said, I want to have kids. And, that was an important thing for me. And the day before when we went out to Long Island to shoot way east, what is it? Yeah, East Long Island. And the producer said, whatever you do, don't tell the woman that you want to have kids. And I was like, all right, but that was like the whole thing that I want to have kids, but I won't do it because we're making a show. This is a show first.
Yeah,
That's the other thing. We're in show business. A lot of people don't know. Like, if the guy says don't do it, it's the show. Then you do what the director wants in the
exactly.
show.
Yeah.
So I didn't talk about it, but the reason why is because she was too old to have kids, and I didn't know that at the time. So anyway, but that being said, because she was too old at the time of kids, I really wasn't interested in her in a long-term thing right from the get-go, and not because I didn't think she was attractive or really a fantastic woman, but I just knew, you just know, or I just knew. So from that point on, I basically didn't really care, but I was still on a show. So I got to ham it up and never had like feelings like, oh, love, like, this is the woman I want to take. So it made me a lot more at ease with myself, not to mention they
Yeah.
make you drink. On this show specifically, they made you drink a lot. So you're drinking every day, and when you drink
Oh
a
my
lot, you
God,
tend
I
to
love that.
it makes you loose, and then you start saying
Yes.
crazy things, and that's why they do it. But these guys were so good that the guys that I was kind of making fun of, and and I made fun of myself. I made fun of everyone.
Yeah.
We had so many good funny bits in that we could have done a couple episodes of all the stuff that they cut. But the stuff that they did put on was, there were so many good jokes I had about myself and about the other guys, sometimes about her, just the situations that we were in. And
You were so
everybody loved
good.
it. Yeah, and it was fun, right? And I was just being myself. I was really just being myself. But there was just something about the cuts they take or what I was in the
Yeah.
moment. I was just saying funny things about people that were just like from our years of mine. We have our stand up, our comedic way of
Yep.
our angles, which are really funny, and
Yep.
it all worked. And so that's kind of why I won. But it was a really great experience, especially looking back and seeing how well how good it made me look as an
Yeah.
entertainer, as a funny person, as a personality.
Well, I think
I'm very proud of it. It's just
you
funny.
just kind of brought it all back. You were
Yeah.
detached. And
Yes.
that's what
Yes.
makes you so, and I think that's how everyone has to be in life is just be not attached to it.
Too
Do the
much.
best you
Right. Right.
can, but
About
don't,
walking away.
there's nothing that you can keep. There's
Yes.
no opportunity. The only thing you have is yourself. So
That's right.
you can't attach
Right.
yourself to a relationship, to a job, to
Nope.
a
I don't think
potential
so.
job. You have to just be in the moment and let life
Yeah.
come at you the way it's supposed to and enjoy the ups and enjoy the downs. And if you're having too many downs, get some pellets in your ass. Hormones, worked for me. So,
That's awesome. I love that. I love that advice. I didn't know you gave that advice like that next to Madison.
of
But this is
course,
fantastic.
but you
When is
got
your
to
book?
realize it. Absolutely. Probably
When's your
the
book out?
fall. It'll be in the fall.
Paul,
Haven't made the big announcement yet.
I am
Yeah.
so proud of you though with everything you've done. And like, I met you
Thank
doing
you.
stand up and then we did videos and now you're doing life coaching and helping people's lives and guiding so many people. And it's just fun to watch you in this light, and we're still good friends socially as well. So,
Yeah. And we'll
no,
be back on the boats.
so
The bikini
I'm waiting.
videos
Hey,
will be back. We hit a
get
million
ready.
views on some stupid
That was
bikini thing
all the stuff we
last
did.
year. Now I'm like, I look even better now. Let's do it
Yes, you
again.
do. Let's do it
Let's do it
again.
on a yacht.
Let's do
Let's
viral
do
on a
it.
yacht. I'm ready
Yeah.
for it.
We're gonna like
Madison's ready.
go. Be like,
Let's
yeah,
do
yeah,
this.
let's
Let's
do
do
it.
it. I love that.
Exactly. Okay,
Love
so
it.
where can people list some of the projects that you've been on? There's a lot
Yep.
that are on Amazon where
Yep.
people can find you and watch your stuff because he was in some really powerful ones. The one I recently saw, Bobby Mortal and
Yep.
God's Will,
God's will. Correct. Those are
were
those are both on Amazon.
so powerful and they're
Yeah.
worth watching.
Thank you.
What else is out there that you want to
Well,
kind of
those are the two main ones. And just, I would just say if you could follow me on Instagram, it's the best place. I don't do TikTok, but Ron Barba one on Instagram is the best. And I have reels and stuff on YouTube. I have so many things on YouTube, but I'm always posting on Instagram. I do
Yeah, you love
I
it.
do a dining show in New York with Alan Golcher.
Yeah.
And I'm always filming stuff in New York. And New York it's a brand of itself. It's an industry in itself just to promote and exploit New York City. It's the greatest
Yeah.
thing. And you meet the craziest people and the most fun people and interesting people. So just follow me on Instagram, Ron Barber One. That's really it. I'm excited and watch the films that I'm working on
Yeah,
going
so
forward.
Ron, you have a big career ahead of you, and
Thanks, honey.
your
Thank you so
best
much.
days are not behind you, your best days are in front of you.
I believe
And
that.
so
Thank
just
you.
go with that attitude because I truly believe it. You are talented. I'm proud to call you my friend.
Yes.
Definitely check him out. And before we wrap up, I want to ask one question that just has been on my mind. What does success mean to you?
What does success mean to me? I think that it's a combination of things, but I think that it's to be loved by people. Doesn't have to be a lot of people, but loved by the people you're around. Truly love them, and to get something out of life that's something that you really wanted out of life. That's that makes sense. Not like to be a famous person. That'd be a wonderful thing, but it's not. It might not be a wonderful thing, but just to be happy with what you're doing with your life every day and be loved and love the people around you is really it. That's to me. You got
Amen.
all that stuff. Is great. Is what success is to me.
Very well said. Very well said. Well, Ron Barber, thank you so much for coming on the Next Madison show. This is so
Madison.
weird because usually we're sitting next to each other. We're like talking like little frat boys. I'm like,
Right.
blah, blah, blah. Whose boat are we going on? What
Right.
guy,
Yeah.
girls. And
That's right.
so this was fun to have this kind of
I,
serious conversation with you and get a different side
thank you
out of
so
you, which
much.
is nice
Thank
because
you
I want to
so
showcase
much.
that to the world too. So go check him out. You guys follow him, Ron Barber one. I am convincing him to do a TikTok. I think he would explode on TikTok. So we'll have his TikTok soon. But yes, you guys check him out, follow him, go check out those movies on Amazon. You will not be disappointed. And in the words of Madison Malloy and Ron Barba, stay positive. Life's too short.
Yes. Thanks, Maddie.
All right. Thank you guys. And thank you to whoever's where all the listeners out there, wherever you may be. I appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to rate, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll see you next time to find out who's next.
Hey, your host here, Madison Malloy. Please make sure to subscribe to the show on all podcast platforms and please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. Also, if you have any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@nexttomadison.com. I thank you again for listening. Bye.